Great time whenever we have Brian Duffy show up on our set, and he is here today as it's Thursday, and what you have dubbed, it's going to be what, Throwback Thursday,
It's
Brian?
another Throwback Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah. We're sticking with the whole caucus theme because, you know, we really need to get into the theme of it, even though I've been doing it for the last, 5 months, 6 months, 2 years, something like that. But, you know, we're getting closer and closer. So I thought we'd go back in time and do a little bit of, you know, check on the history of the caucuses. Now, today we're going to go back to 1980. Can somebody here tell me who won the Republican Iowa caucuses in 1980?
Boy.
80.
Now,
that's Ronald Reagan at the
That's
time.
before we even came
Carter.
here, yeah.
I was gonna say I wasn't of this earth yet, so you're gonna have
Bob Dole.
You're gonna have to fill me in.
Yeah, make us all feel old. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So yeah, we're gonna talk about the person that actually won it, but we're gonna first. Would you think it would be Ronald Reagan, right?
Yeah.
Well, because 1976, his approval ratings. In fact, nobody really spent a lot of time in Iowa in 1976 on the Republican side, and he came out of it. Now he was challenging a sitting president at the time, Gerald Ford.
Right. Yep.
But he came out with 48% of the vote at that time. So you would think that that would translate into the next election if he chose to run, which he did. It didn't. But we're going to draw him anyway because I like drawing him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah,
That
he's got to be one of the greatest guys to draw.
Oh, he is.
Yeah, I would think.
Now, this is one of the times where Ronald Reagan listened to his staff more than he really listened to his own instincts. And he spent very little time, I think it was just a couple of days, in Iowa.
Well, because everybody knew who he was from his previous experience.
But that's the argument. That's the argument that that his staff was making.
Yeah, for those people that don't realize, Ronald Reagan was an employee of WHO Radio, right, for quite a long time.
Well, 1933, then till about 37, 38.
Good run.
Yeah, and he was well known. Now you would think that if you had that, you would capitalize on it and show up. And he didn't come to town for the straw poll, and he didn't come to town for the Republican debates, which were at that time run by the Des Moines Register. And in fact, right after the debates, his approval rating dropped from 48% to 26%.
Oh, wow.
And he still spent less than a day in the state, and was truly shocked when he lost it. So he lost it by, I think it was 31.5% to 29%.
So far, you could turn this right into an ape if you just drew the back of the head that way.
Well,
because the upper lip looks very.
Well, that's you know, the great thing about Ronald Reagan, and the interesting thing about him too, was the fact that when he initially started to show signs of wanting to run for president, a lot of the cartoonists just looked at him as, you know, they took a look at his age and said, you know, the guy is ancient, so they'd put him in a wheelchair, or else they'd have him
with a cane.
With a cane or something like that, and a million wrinkles. And during his first term, that completely changed around. You know, and that's where, in a lot of cases, cartoonists will add.
But his hair was always black, if I remember right.
Yeah, you know, it's
no gray.
No.
Yeah.
And that's why I always love to joke, is you know, I used a lot of ink when I drew him and I drew his hair, and I think he used a lot of ink too. But,
That
he was a great one to draw. I mean,
that looks more like a 1987 Ron Reagan right there.
Yeah, I think so. But he did have these great wrinkles around his face that you know, that just really stood out. But really, what if I were just to draw the hair, that would capture everybody's attention, and they'd know exactly who it was, just off the hair. But he's one that came in second place, amazingly. Never won the Iowa caucuses.
And who was first?
George Bush.
Wow. Oh, really? Okay.
But he put a lot of time into the state.
In 80?
Yes. Yeah, he put a lot of time into the state, and that really shows you how, you know, somebody that you would not think would be able to take a conservative state, generally speaking, could do that in the caucuses, and he did.
How about that?
I read a book about Ron once where he said that that Vice President Bush was one of the people that was more loyal to the party and his whole organization, and that it might not have been a good thing that Ron was kind of more into the country and the greater good, and that Bush wasn't that way necessarily.
Bush was still that part of the Republican East Coast establishment. And I think that made the difference. But the one thing that I'd have to say is that I don't think that Ronald Reagan would win the Iowa caucuses or win an election this time around. I mean, back when he was governor, he had come out against there was an anti-gay proposal that was pushed by a state senator, and he backed it. And he backed he wanted nothing to do with that proposal. That's around the time that Anita Bryant was pushing a lot of this anti-gay proposals down in Florida. Right. So
and she was the spokesman of the orange growers at the time. Yep, I remember that.
Not long afterwards, but
yeah, and for a short period of time afterwards, yes, because they launched her from her gig. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. But
he came out, on something that nowadays, if he came to Iowa with that kind of a voting record behind him, it'd be problematic.
All right. Well done. Good job.
Thank you.
There you go. Throwback Thursday with Brian Duffy. Now, people want to see your work. Where can they see your work?
BrianDuffyCartoons.com, and I also put him on Twitter. And I've got to get them up on Facebook. That's the one problem with all this stuff is that there's so many different, I draw the cartoon, I'm going, I'm done with this thing. Well, no, that's just half the job. Then you've got to put it on every single one of the social medias.
We'll go to commercial break here. I'm going to give you a link that when you put it on Twitter, automatically put it on Facebook. You don't have to mess with it.
Yeah. But
okay, so we'll do that here in a second.
Sounds good.
Good job. We'll be right back. This is Great Dad.